The session of the September 6, 2022 meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. All council members are present. Welcome to our guests and visitors. We provide an opportunity for the public to address the City Council on any agenda item or during the hearing of visitors portion of the agenda. On items other than public hearings, speakers will be allotted 1 3-minute presentation regardless of the number of agenda items the speaker wishes to address. If you're here to speak and have not filled out a registration card, please see the City Secretary, staff at the registration table outside of the auditorium so that staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, please let us know at the beginning of your presentation, and staff will distribute those to council. And if you're unable to approach the podium due to physical limitations, a microphone is available to be brought to you. Please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item of business is to consider the minutes from the August 8th, 2022 special city council meeting, the August 15th, 2022 special city council meeting, and the August 16th, 2022 regular city council meeting. These minutes were provided to you in your meeting packet. Are there any corrections? If no further corrections, these minutes will stand approved as submitted. We'll now transition to the public hearing portion of our meeting. The first public hearing we have is public hearing 2022-599. And this is a this is a public hearing to receive comments on the proposed tax rate of 0.760000 per $100 valuation for the City of Waco fiscal year 2022-23, which includes a 0.140762 per $100 valuation to pay debt service and a 0.619238 per $100 valuation to fund maintenance and operation expenditures.
All right, Mayor and Council, this is an ordinance setting tax rate of 76 cents, which includes 0.619238 to fund maintenance and operations, M&O, expenditures, and $0.140762 to pay debt service on each $100 of assessed valuation of property, levying taxes for the use and support of the municipal government of the City of Waco and providing an interest and sinking fund for the year 2022-2023, and appropriating each levy for the specific purpose, finding and determining that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law, and declaring an emergency. So this ordinance comes to you as an emergency reading, which requires 2 readings tonight.
Are there any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? If not, we will close the public hearing, and I'll ask for a motion.
I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.760000, consisting of 0.140762 to pay debt service and 0.619238 to fund maintenance and operation expenditures per $100 valuation, which is effectively 11.93% increase in the tax rate.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Palmer.
Aye.
Borderood.
Yes.
Holmes. Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. And we will need to read this for a second time.
I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of...
Councilmember Holmes, if we'll let him read the caption one more time.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Mayor and Council, an ordinance setting tax rate of 76 cents, which includes 0.619238 to fund maintenance operations, M&O expenditures, and 0.140762 to pay debt service on each $100 of assessed valuation of property, levying taxes for the use and support of municipal government of the City of Waco and providing an interest and sinking fund for the year 2022-2023, and appropriating each levy for the specific purpose, finding and determining that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law, and declaring an emergency.
Is there a motion?
I move that the property tax rate be increased by the adoption of a tax rate of 0.760000, consisting of 0.140762 to pay debt service and 0.619238 to fund maintenance and operation expenditures per $100 valuation, which is effectively an 11.93% increase in the tax rate.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Bearfield. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Palmer. Porterrood.
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. And we'll move to public hearing 2022-600.
Honorable Mayor and council members, this is a public hearing to receive comments from the public regarding the fiscal year 2022-23 budget service plan for the Waco Tourism Public Improvement District, or TPID. The proposed assessments to be levied on each property in the TPID and setting charges and liens against property in the TPID and against the owners thereof. Notice of this hearing was published in the Waco Tribune-Herald on August 7th, 2022, and mailed to all record owners of property in the tourism PID on July 26, 2022, in accordance with state law. This ordinance comes to you on first reading. The board for the Waco TPID met on July 20th, 2022, and voted to recommend to the City Council an updated service and assessment plan for the Waco TPID, including an assessment role for fiscal year 2022-23. The Waco TPID Board based its budget on the following revenues and expenditures. Waco TPID assessment collection, $1,260,000. The proposed expenditures of Waco TPID's budget are as follows: marketing 45%, $567,000; sales 40%, $504,000; tourism research 8%, $100,800; administration 7%, $88,200; total $1,260,000. The Waco TPID is made up of hotel properties in the city limits of Waco with 75 or more hotel rooms. These properties pay a 2% assessment on their occupied rooms for the purpose of generating funds to market and promote Waco as a convention and tourism destination. The total budgeted costs of the expenditures are in the amount of $1,260,000, all of which will be funded by assessments collected on taxable hotel night revenues.
Are there any questions for staff? We will open a public hearing for comments. I have one card, and that is Ms. Doreen Ravenscroft.
Honourable Mayor and Council, thank you for hearing me today. First of all, I have to thank our City Manager for helping us save the trees at the corner of Elm Avenue and Dallas. It was a pretty devastating affair for some of the folks in East Waco, and so to save those trees was very important because there's not many trees on Elm Avenue. But my concern today is much more about Elm Avenue and some of the things that we are hearing, particularly at the intersection of Hood and Elm, that it's actually narrower, that two cars cannot get through. I'm sure there's been some conversation on this, but I want to bring this to council to research it further. And also, I'm still on the stomping ground of why Elm Avenue can't have nose-in parking when so much of it is on the other side of the river. And yet the area where Marilyn's gift gallery is and small African-American businesses are, it's actually been taken away, and there's a massive piece of concrete in place, which really reflects a tremendous amount of heat into those buildings. I would really like you to look at this again, and I also have more concern about the intersection of Dallas and Elm, that if the design also includes closing it as the way it's happened on Hood, are you sure that our services like our fire engine, our major size fire engine, can actually turn and get through? Even the local Waco bus cannot get through at HUD. So I'm asking you to look at this and see if you can help resolve some of these tight sections on Elm Avenue. And thank you so much.
Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? If not, we'll close the public hearing, and I'll ask for a motion.
Move for approval on first reading?
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Bearfield. Rodriguez. Palmer.
Aye.
Porterrood.
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes. Carries. And we'll move to public hearing 2022-601.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Harrison, Neighborhood Engagement. This is a public hearing to consider an ordinance approving and adopting a service and assessment plan for Waco Public Improvement District Number 1, including the annual budget and assessment roll for providing improvements and/or services for fiscal year 2022-23, making provisions for levying of assessments against the property in the district and owners thereof, fixing charges and liens against the properties in the district and owners thereof, providing for the collection of such assessments, enacting other provisions related thereto, reserving unto the City Council the authority to reduce such assessments based on credits established by the City Council, directing that all required procedures be followed in accordance with Chapter 372 of the Local Government Code, providing a savings clause, and finding and determining that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance comes to you on first reading. On August 16th, 2022, the Advisory Board for PID 1, Public Improvement District Number 1, approved recommendations to the City Council for the proposed service plan for fiscal years 2022-23 for PID 1, which includes the proposed services for fiscal years 2023 through 2027, a 5-year plan, plus the budget and assessment plan for the upcoming 2022-23 fiscal year. The total proposed budgets for the 2022-2023 fiscal year for PID 1 is $1,746,402, with $694,686 designated for programs, services, and administration in 2022-23. Excuse me. 208,263 designated for operating reserve, and 843,453 thousand designated for future capital improvements. As required by law, a copy of the service and assessment plan, including budget and assessment roll, was filed in the City Secretary's office on August 19th, 2022. Thank you.
As required by law, a copy of the service and assessment plan, including budget and assessment roll, was filed with the City Secretary's office on August 19, 2022, and also published on the city website under the Economic Development page. Notice of this public hearing was mailed to property owners in PID 1 on August 18, 2022, and published in the Waco Tribune Herald on August 19, 2022.
Thank you to our whole team.
Really assist. We knew that might be coming.
It's a team effort.
Handoff.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Are there any questions for staff? If not, we will.
Okay, Millette, are you okay? All right. That's my only question.
We will open a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? Mr. McGowan.
It's great teamwork. My name is Chris McGowan. I'm the interim executive director at City Center Waco, the administrator for your PID number 1, and I would just be happy to do my best to try to answer any questions that y'all may have about the service plan.
Any questions for Chris? All right, seeing none, thank you, Chris. Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? We'll close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion.
Move for approval on first reading.
And Councilmember Borderoon has filed affidavits of substantial interest. Please poll the council.
Rodriguez. Palmer. Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes. Motion carries, and we'll move to public hearing 2022-602.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Jeremy Facina with the Economic Development Department. This public hearing to consider an ordinance approving and adopting the updated service plan and assessment plan for Waco Public Improvement District Number 2, including the annual budget, assessment plan, and assessment roll for fiscal year 2022 and 2023, making provisions for the levying of special assessments for improvement costs and annual administrative expense assessments on certain property in Public Improvement District Number 2 and the owners thereof, fixing charges and liens against property in Public Improvement District Number 2 and the owners thereof, providing for the collection of such assessments, enacting other provisions relating thereto, reserving unto the council the authority to reduce such assessments based on credits established by the city council, directing that all required procedures be followed in accordance with Chapter 372 of the Local Government Code, providing a savings clause, and finding and determining that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance comes to you on first reading. Waco's Public Improvement District Number 2 was first established in August 2003. PID 2 was established specifically for the purpose of paying for the annual bond payments through the annual assessment plan for drainage facilities constructed to provide for the commercial construction development that have already occurred on properties located in PID 2. The proposed assessment plan for fiscal year 2022 through 23 for PID 2 is as follows: $108,150 for infrastructure improvement and assessment, $5,000 for administrative expense assessment, for a total of $113,150. Assessments are divided on a per square foot basis among properties in PID 2. As required by law, a copy of the updated service plan and assessment plan, including the budget, assessment plan, and assessment roll, was filed with the City Secretary's office on August 19, 2022, and also posted on the city's website under the Economic Development page. Notice of the public hearing was also mailed to property owners in PID 2 on August 19, 2022, and published in the Waco Tribune-Herald on August 20, 2022.
Are there any questions for staff?
Holmes, here, one quick question. The last payment is represented this December, right? That's the last?
Yes.
Does the PID just dissolve after that then, or what happens?
Well, we are actually looking into if there's any process that we need to take to dissolve it, but yeah, the last payment should be at the end of this year.
Okay. All right, thanks. That's all I had, Mayor.
Any other questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? If not, we'll close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion.
Move for approval on first reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Fairfield. Yes. Rodriguez. Palmer.
Aye.
Waterroot.
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Carries. We'll move to public hearing 2022-603.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider an ordinance of the city of Waco, Texas, designating the property described as lots 16 and 17, Block C, Castle Heights Edition, known as 200 Castle Avenue, as a historic landmark, establishing design guidelines, regulating alteration or demolition, providing for penalties, providing severability clause, and finally determining the meeting in which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. By a vote of 9-0, Plan Commission recommended approval of the request based on the following findings. 1, it is located within the Castle Heights National Register Historic District. 2, is designated as a Priority 1 structure in the local survey of historic properties adopted by the Waco City Council. 3, is associated with the lives of persons significant in local, regional, state, national, or international history. 4, it embodies the distinctive characteristics of a Tudor Revival style residence associated with early 20th century architecture. And 5, it represents the work of a master designer, builder, or craftsman, being architect Birch D. Easterwood. This also comes to you with a recommendation from our Historic Landmark Preservation Commission.
Are there any questions for staff? Now we'll open a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? If not, we'll close the public hearing and I'll ask for a motion.
Mayor, I move to so designate.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Fairfield. Yes. Rodriguez. Palmer.
Aye.
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. Congratulations. And next we'll move to public hearing 2022-604.
Honorable Mayor, members of the council, this is a public hearing to consider a resolution approving the final PUD plan for PUD known as Brazos Promenade PUD, and more recently referred to as Riverfront Waco PUD, located along both sides of South University Parks Drive between Jackson Avenue and Clay Avenue, and further described as lots 1 through 4, 11A, 11B, 12B, 13B, 14B, 15, and 16, Block 24, the original city, Taylor and Beale, and a 0.1607 acres of an abandoned alley, total 2.5312 acres. Land account improvement only on property ID 410276, known as 400 South 2nd Street, with a property ID of 184353. City Commons lot, all river frontage, and 1.257 acres of abandoned road. Block 1, 2, 3, and Z. 10.0982 acres S&E, .3188 acres of leased tract with a property ID of 381569, known as 400 South University Parks Drive, 500, property ID 168436. Lot 15, Block 23, the original city, Taylor and Beal. 1.2052 acres, known as 414 University Parks Drive, rear land, property ID 184351, lots 1 and 2, and .023 acres of abandoned alley, Block 24, original city, Taylor and Beal. 0.4018 acres, known as 400 South 2nd Street, with a property ID of 184353. Lot 1, Block 32, the original city, Taylor Beal. 0.189 acres, known as 503 River Street, with a property ID of 184391. Lots 2 through 7, Block 33, the original city, Taylor and Beal, known as River Street, and approximately 2.04 acres, more or less, out of the property described as Lots 5, Block 1, the University Parks Edition. 6.55 acres, formerly Brazos Place Condo, known as 522 South University Parks Drive, with a property ID of 194021. Plan Commission did recommend approval by a vote of 9-0 for the final PUD based on the following findings and condition. 1, the final PUD is consistent with the approved concept PUD, conditions of the approved concept PUD, and requirements of the PUD ordinance. And 2, the circulation plan, public facilities and service plan, preliminary architectural plan, and site development and landscaping plan, including the final PUD plan, are adequate, and the proposal for maintenance of common open space, including the PUD, is adequate. You have a couple of conditions. At time of development, full building plans must be submitted meeting all City of Waco development requirements, including but not limited to the following: building code, site grading and drainage, signage, vehicle pedestrian access, and circulation, landscaping, refuse, location and access, fire protection, location and access in the Brazos River corridor. District regulations, permits will not be issued until full compliance with all development standards of City of Waco and approved PUD plans, and the property must be platted meeting requirements of the PUD and subdivision ordinance before issuance of permits.
Are there any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? If not, we'll close the public hearing. I'll ask for a motion.
I'll move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'll just say, Paris, to see you here tonight. I appreciate your flexibility in getting this thing going, and it seems like we're getting to the last phase of this thing, and just a transformational deal for the City of Waco, and I appreciate your company's and your group's attention to what we're trying to get done here, and just excited about bringing it into the final phase here.
Great. Please poll the council.
Bearfield? Rodriguez? Palmer? Holmes?
Aye.
Meek?
Yes, that motion carries. We'll move to public hearing 2022-605.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. This is a public hearing to receive comments on an amendment to the consolidated plan for years 2019 through 2023 and the 2017, 2018, 2019, and 2020 consolidated annual action plan to provide unspent CDBG funds for the assistance with site development. The proposed amendment would provide spending of federal funding from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development CDBG program as follows. Provide funding for up to $355,000, $271.16 for the development of contiguous undeveloped lots or parcels to assist with infrastructure, including streets and drainage, for a new affordable housing development. The amendment was placed out for public comment from July 26th of 2022 through August 24th of 2022. Notice was placed in the non-legal section of the Waco Tribune Herald newspaper, posted on the city's website, and on the city's bulletin board. No comments were received during this public comment period.
Are there any questions for staff? We'll open a public hearing for comments. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? Now we'll close the public hearing, and I'll ask for a motion.
Move for approval. Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Bearfield? Rodriguez?
Aye.
Palmer? Borderoot?
Yes.
Holmes?
Aye.
Meek?
Yes, that motion carries. And the following resolutions will be pulled from the consent agenda because I have a card, and that is Resolution 2022-612 and 2022-644. I do have a card for these, and that is Dr. Alan Northcutt.
619.
Sorry, your card says 612. But if you'd like, then you'd like to speak on 612 and 644?
19.
619 and 644.
644.
Okay, apologize, your card said 612 and 644. We will then have the consent agenda.
Mayor, let's verify. 619 is the TSDC interlocal agreement for radio subscriber item. I don't think, is that what you're wanting to speak on?
It's the item about the oil and gas lease.
That is 612. 612 is the oil and gas lease, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, so it is, before you read something incorrectly, Mayor, I wanted to make sure.
Okay, I guess, I'm sorry, I got the wrong number. It's supposed to be the oil and gas lease.
Your card says 612, which is, it sounds like the oil and gas lease.
Yeah, that's right. It is right.
Great. So the items that have been pulled from the agenda were correctly Resolution 2022-612, 2022-644. Dr. Northcutt.
I'm sorry, it is 612. I just read my number wrong. So, oil and gas lease. Okay, sorry. So, council members have stated in past business sessions that they recognize the climate crisis. In fact, one declared it, quotes, an existential threat, close quote. Knowing council wants to do the right thing on this, this resolution should not be approved, in my opinion. A foundational principle of the climate crisis is that we must stop drilling. Approving this lease would contribute to worsening the climate crisis. The renowned International Energy Agency, it's in your handout, from 2021 states that no fossil fuel exploration is required in the net zero emission world, as no new oil and natural gas fields are required. In 1936, when these mineral rights were granted, we didn't understand the connection between fossil fuels and dangerous climate change. But now in 2022, we do know the connection, and the council should not take part in oil and gas exploration that the world must end. And again, the fact that the city has installed one solar array and bought a few EVs doesn't remove the city's responsibility to improve the climate crisis, not make it worse. I'd like to also comment on 644. I would again note that there are cities using electric refuse trucks today, not prototypes. It's in your handout. And the consultant report doesn't say that all electric refuse trucks are in the prototype stage. Examples of cities that are using them are Sacramento since 2017, New York City, LA, Kuna, Idaho, Ocala, Florida, Hyattsville, Maryland, large and small cities. In fact, LA has announced that no more internal combustion engine refuse trucks will be purchased after 2022. They're going all electric with those. And these are respected companies such as BYD, one of the largest in the world, Volvo, Lion, and Motive. Electric refuse trucks are a perfect fit since they are quiet in our neighborhoods, do not have toxic tailpipe emissions which are damaging to citizen health. They use no electricity during frequent idling, and of course they have no GHG emissions. Further, some cities have found that looking at life cycle costs, they're actually cheaper. Waco can't address the future by continuing the practices of the past. With the extremely short timeline for climate action, the city has a responsibility to consider an electric refuse truck now. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Northcutt. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak on Resolution 2022-612 or 644? If not, then I'll entertain a motion on Resolution 2022-612.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Bearfield.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Aye.
Palmer.
No.
Borderood.
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to Resolution 2022-644.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Rodriguez. Aye. Palmer. Aye. Borderoad.
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. The rest of the consent agenda consists of Resolutions 2022-606 through 661, with the exceptions of 612 and 644. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Bearfield. Rodriguez. Palmer. Borderoad.
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to Ordinance 2022-662.
An ordinance amending Section 18-76A of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco, Texas, to increase the number of positions in the Emergency Operations Classification of the Waco Fire Department by increasing the number of firefighters Grade 1 from 81 to 85. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing a savings clause, providing for inclusion in the code, and finding and determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance comes to council on first reading.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval on first reading. Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Rodriguez. Palmer.
Aye.
Borderoad.
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. We'll move to Ordinance 2022-663.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Waco, Texas, approving a negotiated settlement between the Atmos City Steering Committee, ACSC, and Atmos Energy Corp. Midtex Division regarding the company's 2022 rate review mechanism filing, declaring existing rates to be unreasonable, adopting tariffs that reflect rate adjustments consistent with the negotiated settlement, finding the rates to be set by the attached settlement tariffs to be just and reasonable and in the public interest, approving the attached exhibit establishing a benchmark for pensions and retiree medical benefits, requiring the company to reimburse ACSC's reasonable rate-making expenses, determining this ordinance was passed in accordance with the requirements of the Texas Open Meetings Act, adopting a savings clause, declaring an effective date, and requiring delivery of this ordinance to the company and ASCS's legal counsel. This ordinance was approved on first reading on August 16th, 2022.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval on second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Rodriguez. Palmer. Aye. Borderoad.
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries. And the next item is Ordinance 2022-664.
The City of Waco, Texas, providing that the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco be amended by revising Section 28-247 and Chapter 28 zoning of said code. Provide the zoning map shall be changed so that certain properties described as lots 3, 4, and 7, Block 1, Sedgwick Addition, known as 2012, 2014, and 2020 North 5th Street, shall be changed from R2 district classification and become and be designated to O3 district classification. Providing for penalties, providing a severability clause, and finding and determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed, open the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 5-0 council vote on first reading on August 16th, 2022.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval on second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Fairfield.
Yes.
Rodriguez. Aye. Palmer. Aye. Borderoad.
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to Ordinance 2022-665.
Of the City of Waco, Texas, providing the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco be amended by revising Section 28-247 and Chapter 28 zoning of said code. Providing the zoning map shall be changed so that certain property described as Lot K18, Block 1, DR Gurley Edition, known as 2606 South 3rd Street, shall be changed from R1B district classification and become and be designated to R2 district classification, providing for penalties, providing a severability clause, and finding and determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 5-0 council vote on first reading on August 16th, 2022.
Is there any discussion? Is there a motion?
Move for approval on second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Yes.
Palmer. Aye. Borderoad.
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Yes, that motion carries, and we'll move to Ordinance 2022-666.
An ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, providing the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco be amended by revising Section 28-247 and Chapter 28 zoning of said code, providing that the zoning map shall be changed so that certain property described as lots 13 and 14, Block 8, Glenwood Edition, known as 1920 Austin Avenue, shall be changed from O3 district classification and become and be designated to O2 district classification, providing for penalties, providing a severability clause, and finally determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed to open the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 5-0 council vote on first reading on August 16, 2022.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval on second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Rodriguez.
Aye.
Palmer. Bordereau.
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Motion carries and move to ordinance 2022-667.
An ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, providing the comprehensive plan be amended to change the land use designation from suburban residential to mixed-use flex on property described as 21.733 acre tract of land situated in the J. Tucker Survey, abstract number 41, McLennan County, Texas, and being all of that called 21.73 acre tract of land described as tract 2 in a deed to RKS Sam Jack, LLC, a Texas limited liability company, as recorded in McLennan County Clerk's File 2015-039102 of the official public records of McLennan County, Texas, property ID 1028837, and located at the southwest intersection of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and Lakeshore Drive. Providing the Code of Ordinances of the City of Waco be amended by revising Section 28-247 and Chapter 28 zoning of said code. Providing that the zoning map shall be changed, that the property described above shall be changed from C3 and R1B to C2 district classification. Providing for penalties, providing a severability clause, and finally determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 5-0 council vote on first reading on August 16, 2022.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval on second reading.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Fairfield. Rodriguez.
Aye.
Palmer.
Yes.
Holmes. Meek.
Carries. The last ordinance is ordinance 2022-668.
An ordinance of the City of Waco, Texas, abandoning a 20-foot wide alley from Jackson Avenue to Webster Avenue between South 10th Street and South 11th Street, described as 0.16 acres of land in the City of Waco, McLennan County, Texas, being all of that 20-foot alley as shown in Block B of the J.W. Mann's addition to the City of Waco, McLennan County, Texas, according to the plat recorded in Volume 28, page 243 of their deed records of McLennan County, Texas. Finding no duty to maintain, authorizing the city manager to execute quitclaim deeds, providing a severability clause, and finally determining the meeting at which this ordinance is passed is open to the public as required by law. This ordinance was approved by a 5-0 council vote on first reading on August 16, 2022.
Is there a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? Please poll the council.
Fairfield. Rodriguez. Palmer. Bordereau.
Yes.
Holmes.
Aye.
Meek.
Motion carries. Next is hearing of visitors. During the hearing of visitors section of the agenda, we provide an opportunity for the public to present concerns or to address issues that are not matters for consideration listed on the agenda. Council is unable to conduct discussion, but we will listen and ask staff to look into concerns and provide a follow-up. Please provide registration information so that staff can contact you if necessary. If you have handouts, please let us know at the beginning of your presentation and staff will distribute those to council. If you're unable to approach the podium due to physical limitations, a microphone is available to be brought to you. I do have one card, and that is Mr. Ephraim Herring.
My name is Ephraim Herring, 1044 Chestnut, Waco, Texas. I come to you today talk about Elm Avenue. You might have a problem coming after you finish Elm Avenue because of 3 major streets. When the accidents happen, there's a thing called contributing factors to traffic crashes. If you're driving down Turner Street and you make a right-hand turn onto Elm Street, due to the arc of the vehicle making a right turn, he has to go into the oncoming traffic lane to make a proper turn because you have made the intersection at Turner and Elm Street protrude out where you have to turn out into the other lane to make a right turn if you're in a vehicle. If you're not paying attention, like most people do when they go down Elm Avenue on their cell phones, they swing out and you can't really see traffic coming at you because now you got the cars parked there and the light there and you got a fire hydrant. This problem showed itself on Rose Street. I told Public Works are working on it. They changed Rose Street because when you start turning and you're cutting it, there's a curve there. Over time, you start tearing up that curve. If you go look at Rose Street, Rose and Elm, you'll see where they changed that, where it's a flat surface. Right now, you got a curve at Turner Street, and also you got a curve at Hood Street, and you got a curve on Spring Street, and you got that curve that's gonna probably come up on Dallas Street. That's gonna be a problem. And somebody get them a smart attorney or to get tired, or the insurance company get tired of paying for repairing people's rims when that turn. The city's gonna be liable for that because they're gonna find out that, hey, when you make a right turn in your vehicle, and you can do it yourself, you can go down on Turner Street and make that turn onto going to downtown, and you'll see what I'm talking about. You also got a fire hydrant there. And somebody, if a big truck comes down there and turns that fire hydrant, you don't cut off that fire hydrant, then you got a fire problem, you got a water problem. The other problem is, to point out, is Elm Avenue is a commercial area. So what you're doing now is, I know how the design was. I told Megan Henderson back in 2017. The design you have is for a residential area where there's not much traffic at all. Elm Avenue is a commercial area. You're getting ready to put down new businesses there, and that's going to be a problem. I'm just bringing it to your attention. We've talked about it before. It's 2017, 18, and 19. Nobody's listening to them until they start tearing stuff up. And I know it costs you money to replace those curves. I know that one on Rose Street costs at least about, easy off the top of my head, 12 grand. But somebody needs to take a good look at that before you start tearing up these high-end cars. And high-end cars, a rim on a high-end car is going to cost you $1 grand. And the insurance company gets into it. But yeah, somebody to take a real good look at those streets.
Thank you, Mr. Herring. Is there anyone else here to speak in the hearing of visitors? If not, we will close the hearing of visitors. Are there any council member reports on committees, boards, commission liaison visits?
I don't have a report, Mayor, but I just, you know, in the work that we do with TML, NLC, you know, we engage with multiple cities, and I just want, as we go and are able to do the things that we can do with ease, take some time to consider those that are in Mississippi. You know, our National Black Caucus of Local Elected Officials incoming president is a council member for Jackson, and they are under major duress with their water treatment. And, you know, even though the pumps are back working, it is still in disrepair. And so just give them some thoughts, and, you know, where I know several organizations are still sending water, you know, still sending aid because, you know, they need it. And I know there were many cities when we needed aid and during the freezes that assisted us. So just give them some of that same energy.
Yep. Thoughts and prayers for them, for sure. Thank you, Councilmember. Anything else? There being no further business, this meeting will be adjourned at 6:46 p.m. Thanks, everybody. Great meeting.